Hey guys, today I am coming to you from Switzerland with my friend Captain Lazy, and we're going to tell you about how to find good dreadlocks information online and how to avoid bad dreadlocks information online, because there's a lot of both. So, the very first thing I want to talk about is finding some good information. Good, good sources of information will be objective. They'll say, there's this and that and the other. We think this, but there's different ways of doing it. For instance, the blog I helped to run, Dreadlock Info at tumblr.com. Um, we don't like the use of wax, but if someone does want to use wax, we're not going to say, you're so wrong, never do this to your hair. Because using wax isn't necessarily wrong. It's easy to overuse. We like to present the reasons why someone shouldn't use it, but we would never outright scream like, don't use wax, it's terrible. There's so many different ways to do dreads. Look for people who put out objective information because it's probably going to be better. Next, if there's any source that you find online that says that you cannot wash dreads, run the other way. The good websites or websites where you'll know you're off to a good start tell you that you can wash your dreads. Some people may like to wash their dreads once a week, once a day, once a month, but it needs to happen. Don't listen to someone who tells you that you shouldn't wash your dreads for 6 months because that is bad information. So, good blogs will be objective and they will tell you that you can wash your hair. These are two very important things. So, next, let's talk a little bit about information you should avoid. So, people who preach a very strong dogma about dreads should be avoided. For instance, people who say, there's only one way to make dreads, and one way, and it's my way or the highway, and if you don't do it my way, you won't have dreads. That's not true. Sometimes advocates of wax say that you can't get dreads without using wax. That's very false. No wax. You can get dreads with wax, you can get them without wax. You can get dreads with maintenance, you can have dreads without maintenance. You can manually set up your dreads or you can neglect your dreads. There's so many ways to make your dreads. And if people sit and tell you online, there's only one way, that's not good information. Also they don't take into consideration that not everyone has straight hair or whatever texture hair. There's a wide spread of hair textures, and each hair texture requires a little bit different setup, or hair textures on the extremes require different ways of maintaining and handling your dreads, So people who say that there's one way are really cutting out a lot of important stuff. Next thing you should avoid is people who tell you don't do X, Y, or Z or your dreads will fall out. These people are liars, and you should run away from them when they tell you stuff. Basically, you can do crochet hooking maintenance or not. You can do palm rolling or not. You can put in wax or not. You can put your dreads in a ponytail or not. You can dress up like a fancy unicorn or not. Your dreads just aren't going to fall out magically. Now, naturally, there are some things that you do to your dreads that are unhealthy. For instance, crochet hooking roughly is unhealthy. Crochet hooking gently doesn't really damage your hair at all. Like if you light your dreads on fire, you're probably not going to have dreads anymore. That's important. Needle felting your dreads is generally bad. However, Hippie Jew on YouTube, she has needle felted wool into her dreads, but she doesn't use it as a regular form of maintenance. So, there's that. Needle felting, however, as a regular form of maintenance is terrible. So maybe avoid that a little. And then, I've seen a girl who bleached her hair and made it dark and bleached it and made it dark and bleached it and made it dark so many times that her dreads pulled apart like cotton candy off her head after a shower. And that was extreme. But her dreads kind of did fall off. But I have never seen any other case where people's dreads fell off like that. And that was after extreme abuse that could have been avoided. So, you know. And naturally, other things that might make your dreads fall out are natural baldness happening accompanying hormonal changes, illness requiring chemotherapy, alopecia, different things like that. So there are ways that your dreads might fall out, but they're not just gonna like fall off your head one night and run for the hills. It just doesn't happen. So if people scream, "Don't do this or your dreads will fall out, it's dangerous and bad," don't listen, they're full of it. um, yeah, so I guess that's mostly what I wanted to say. Oh yeah, people, um, you can do different forms of maintenance on your dreads, and people whose websites preach that you can't do maintenance to your dreads or you can't do X, Y, and Z to your dreads probably are a bad source of information. So when looking for good information, look for something that at minimum says that you should wash your dreads, because you should, and look for someone that puts out objective information. The blog I help to run, dreadlockinfo.tumblr.com, is a pretty, in my opinion, of course I help to run it so I'm biased, is a pretty objective source of information for dreads. And we try not to scream no about anything. We try to be really thoughtful in our answers and in our information that we put out. There's other good websites. Get Up, Dread Up on LiveJournal. You can lurk through all their past posts and their memories section. They have really good information too. I can't think of any more off the top of my head, but there's a lot of good YouTube channels like Quotidian Light, 2SVJ7, Cheska Locks, Damian Walter, I think Collins Dreads 777, and so many others really have good information. I won't name names about bad information because that's bad PR in my opinion, but just use my tips and tricks to kind of weed out the bad guys, okay? And always remember to be objective about dreads and do your homework before you start them or try something new with them. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye bye.